because it's me alone right now, you understand? It's a nice little vibe. So I'm just gonna get right into the meat of the matter now. Before COVID and during COVID, people suffer from psychological distress in all forms. So we are joined via Skype by child psychologist Michelle Harrison, who is here as a part of the Fight for Peace initiative, and she's here to talk about the psychological first aid. Is she? Oh, hey, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, Michelle, how are you?
I am good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Earlier on, we were messing with you. We wanted to call you Dr. Harrison, but you said not. not yet. We're speaking it into being. All right, tell me,
Definitely speaking it into being.
what is psychological first aid?
So, in short, psychological first aid is like the mental health equivalent of medical first aid.
Okay.
So, what it does, it gives the layman, anybody, parents, teachers, youth leaders, church members, the skills they need to respond to a stressful situation like COVID
Right.
and help someone cope more effectively. So they move from crisis to recovery. It also helps them to identify any services and resources that they can go to get additional support.
Oh, okay, cool. So who do you think needs psychological first aid?
In terms of the training or needs
Needs.
to have it applied?
We're going to talk about the person who have the need, and then we're going to talk about the training. So you can talk about the needs first, and then tell me about the training afterwards.
Okay, so truthfully, I think throughout our lives, everybody at some point experiences some level of anxiety or worry or stress. And so psychological first aid is one of those things that it's not something you only have to draw for whenever you're stressed out or whenever you're anxious. It's actually something that you can use in just your day-to-day interactions. So if you encounter someone who is having a bad day, if you just apply the principles of psychological first aid, their response may be more calm, maybe more open, because you're approaching them in this supportive, humane way.
Okay. Before you tell me about the training, could I need psychological first aid and I don't know about it?
I think sometimes, because psychological first aid is this fancy term for a collection of techniques. I think it's applicable to no matter what you do. And as a television presenter, you could use psychological first aid because you may be dealing with someone who is nervous around the cameras, or who
Okay.
may be worried about being on television and the hair is not done or they're not set up. And if you apply the psychological first aid, you can help them to feel more supported, feel calmer, and so they're able to excel in that interview.
Give me like two or three examples of like those everyday persons who would need psychological first aid.
Okay, let's use what's happening now.
All
It
right.
could be someone on the telephone. So you call somebody to
Right.
get some information. Let's say you're scheduling an interview with me.
Okay.
I answer the phone and my response is, what? Who is this? Why are you calling me? That's an instance where you pick up, okay, this person may be having a rough time. Let me try and make them feel more comfortable so that one, you get what you do need out of them, but they're able to overcome that, because ultimately we want everybody to be okay, because this is a very stressful time. Another instance could be, I'll use a young person in our program. They may have just completed the first assessment for PEP, and they're feeling very hard on themselves, they're feeling very discouraged, and they're also worried about the next step. You can apply psychological first aid to help them process those feelings and not get bogged down by them, but rather say, you know what? Today was hard. I have what I need to succeed. Tomorrow is a new day. So those are just some examples of it in a very practical way.
And those examples are like real life examples, and sometimes we don't know how to deal with those situations. This is where the training comes in. Tell me about the training.
So the training, I always like to think about it like you have this messy cupboard. So you have kind of all the skills you need, and the training organizes it for you. So it provides a framework. So it guides how you first, one, identify those persons who may need support. So it helps you to identify, okay, this person may be under undue stress. Because the first thing is you have to identify those persons who need it. The second step is it helps you to understand, okay, how can I approach this person? Because you don't want to be too, sympathetic and pity them so they feel like you're saying, oh, poor you, let me come in and save you. So you want to know how to support them so they feel understood. They feel that they can speak to you and they trust you. And then the third step is helping you figure out, okay, they have these needs. How can I support them to get these needs met? So one of the key components is collaboration. So you begin to identify what services can I connect with? And that's actually how Fight for Peace works. So we have a collective impact approach where we work with a host of partners. They are community-based partners, they are government agencies, they're social service agencies. Some of them include Joytone, Rise Life Management, the various sports federations. So what we realize is, even as an organization, we ourselves can't do everything. So we work with our partners to meet the needs of our young people. That's psychological first aiding work. It's realizing our young people have these needs. Where can we go to get these needs met?
Okay, so you covered that businesses and schools would definitely need some sort of psychological first aid training. Persons in it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've actually done a number of schools, and we are looking at how we can help the corporate side of our country. Because the truth is, once you interact with persons, you're going to be dealing with some of their struggles. When you're a call center representative, you're dealing with persons who are upset 90% of the time. And it's good to know, okay, how do I kind of stabilize the situation? Right. How do I get the person to not feel so frustrated and make the call effective because I'm able to meet their need? That's a very key component. It's great to know what they need, but it's even better to know, hey, this is where you can get help from.
You're speaking of getting help, but how can persons find out more information about both Fight for Peace and both psychological first aid? Tell me where I can get that information quickly.
Sure. So you can email us. You can email P as in Paul, SST at fightforpeace.net or up at fightforpeace.net.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Keep safe throughout this COVID-19.
Thank you so much.
And I will see you when you're collecting your doctorate. Daytime Live.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Our Daytime Live will be right back. I'm here say one of them appear from out of nowhere, people. They mash up a little vibes right after this.